Mays the first. Yeah. Meaning that some of us are generational in America. My great grandmother, who was a slave in Waco, Texas, but that's where the Texas Mammie series was born, from my grandmother on my father's side. And as you're looking at me, I am a native Texan, generational native Texan. There are people who collect mammies, Mammie paintings. Now, I hate to put things in black and white, but a lot of my white collectors who have bought Mammie pictures, they would say, if I put this on the wall, they say I'm racist. You'd say, I painted it. So the name of this series, this particular series, I mentioned this before, I can paint Mammie, maybe you can't. Who was Mammie? Okay, there's a book called by Richard Wright called Native Son. Native Son, like every country has its native sons. The Russians have their native sons. The French have their native sons. The Nigerians got their native sons. And America has its native sons. Who are the American native sons, you might say? Oh, there we go. One, there we go. Yes, okay. Well, the native sons were basically the people who were tied to the land. Now, the thing about it is, race mixing in the United States is a very sensitive issue. You don't know who you mix with, as far as if you've been there for generations. And this is something that nobody's going to talk about it. Now the Mammie was in the house, and she knew that if she had an offspring, her offspring, hopefully it came from the master, which meant that the baby had a chance in the Americas. And this went on, it 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 went on. So they used to have a lot of these mulatto children, and we use Louisiana for an example. They opened up a college called Xavier. Also the French, they had a bunch of mulatto babies, and the difference between the French and the English, the French educated their mulatto children. And actually they would send a lot of their mulatto children to Paris for higher education. See, most people don't know this history. Now, when we get to the civil rights, the civil rights movement was created by Black Americans, nobody else. We created it, along with Jewish scholars. But the fact of the civil rights movement, these were well-educated people, very intellectual people that created the civil rights movement. And unfortunately, it became watered down by some dumb people. Took the battalion and ran with it. Now, you had the good Mammie and the bad Mammie. The good Mammie was one who she wanted to make sure that they would survive the conditions. And then you had that other Mammie who was like a groomer. She would groom people to the slaughterhouse. The slaughterhouse, like you have a Judas goat. And they would always make sure that the number one person whom antebellum slavery was targeting, the black male. And it was that Mammie who was that one that groomed for destruction. Then you had somebody like Harriet Tubman, who led many people to freedom. They wanted a white woman to play Harriet Tubman. Can you imagine I mean, Harriet Tubman was jet black. That's what I'm talking about. When people water down your culture, it's pathetic. It's a kaleidoscope of different people. Simple as that. I'm a Southerner. I'm a Southerner. I love my South. And I love all destinations going west. So basically, in America, every white person in America didn't have slaves, and every black person wasn't a slave. Okay, so if you have a white immigrant that immigrates to the United States, he's oblivious to the history, but he is drafted into that history. The media will never tell you that. Like, for example, they never tell you about the histories of different parties. As Malcolm X said, and now actually Malcolm X was up here in this place, this actual place, the Malcolm X. He said that was back in the 60s, 1965, when he went to Africa. The CIA was following him, and he knew that they were going to assassinate him. And Charles de Gaulle did not want him in France, but he went and spoke at Sorbonne to the African students that were there. And then he decided to come here and pay the proprietor of this place at the time, Johnny Romero, a visit. In the United States, to be a conscious white man, you're in trouble. And if you're an ambitious black man, you're in trouble. Remember that. Like, for example, you talk about civil rights issues. Well, don't be too ambitious and do not be too conscious in America. Just make the money.